No gold is not in her. She's a dime.
Welcome to another wonderful edition of the $1 Million Peddlers. I'm Paper Guy.
And I'm Mr. Magazine.
And today we're going to talk about banning bidders. Should you do it? Why should you do it? But before we do that, we've got a little bit of housekeeping. We're up to 6 positives.
Nice.
Remember that OG magazine?
Yep. It's sold again.
And it got paid for, but
Nice.
you're going to love this. So there's a gentleman out California that wholesales me out magazines. He'll contact me every once in a while, and he'll send me magazines. And I figured out what he does is he goes around eBay and he buys lots of magazines cheap. And he makes money, God bless him, saves me the trouble of doing it. He won the magazine for me. I usually pay him about $3 a piece.
99 cents.
Plus shipping, allegedly.
Oh.
However, it's a whole different listing format if you're listing on the low end of things versus the store and all that sort of thing. I accidentally clicked the wrong button and gave him free shipping.
Ooh, awesome.
So that's a real good way to go. So as soon as I saw he won it, I said, oh, geez. So I did email him and say, hey, this happened. And he offered to pay the shipping. I said, no, it was totally on me, my fault. I said, give me the positive feedback. I appreciate that even more. Somehow or other, I think that OG is going to be finding its way back to me. Oh, what a money-losing idea that whole thing was. But so be very, very careful. Check your settings. I know any number of times you'll end up looking where you've done. I know you've had it happen to you before, where like bold will be listed or.
Well, my employees have a bad habit where they like to start the next day off a previous day's listing since it's already started, and then if you don't check everything, it's a catastrophe if you're listing 100 magazines or something and you don't change whatever setting was the previous day.
Yep.
So I get on them, always start a new one first of the day. Your first listing, double check everything, make sure it's all good, and you're good.
Well, I'm even thinking about things like gallery pictures. Sometimes certain categories that cost 35 cents extra. And if you're 5 or 6 in, all of a sudden you've said, I've spent $2 that I didn't need to spend.
Ooh, I got a story. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I remember years ago, my sister was listing, and she clicked on the, what was it called? It's featured.
Oh,
It was $100 per listing. She doesn't know how she did it, but she listed like 15 items at $100 a listing, and I got charged $1,500. Luckily, eBay was very understandable. We called them right back, and they, refunded us. But yeah, you don't want to do that.
they would have been featured, though. They probably would have sold for $12.
Oh,
So
excellent.
you would have bought those positives. So that's a crazy story, but do make sure that you do check everything, because again, stuff gets checked and you're not realizing it happens. And then a good way to do it is at the bottom of the listing. You should see free or 10 cents depending upon what or a quarter, sometimes at auction, whatever. If you see a price other than what you expect, go back. You clicked something throughout that you did not want to click. I think bold is $4, something like that. I don't know why you'd really want to get it bold, unless maybe if you have some crazy high price listing where you think it will stand out. If you got a $5,000 item, I don't suppose $4 is going to make a big difference. But for the things we sell, you got to be very, very careful about that.
I always tell my employees at the end of your listing where it tells you the submission price, double check that. If it's always going to be the 10 cents, whatever it is, always stick with that.
Yep. And I found a few more things here we're going to be listing.
Nice.
Of course, Johann Strauss. These sort of things that I'm not even sure what it is. It was in plastic. I haven't opened it yet. It looks like it's probably a program. Big thing with, if you are listing things like this, if this is a program for a specific show, people want the conductor. They want things like that. They want to know who was playing the piano, that sort of thing. So I add the extra pictures. 2 reasons. Number 1, it'll help sell it. Number 2, you won't be asked later, because a lot of times it'll be like, hey, my cousin was, did he play that? Well, you can check yourself on there. So it does save you a lot of time doing that. Another thing over here, simplified art anatomy.
It looks like an oldie.
Does look old, kind of neat. These kind of things do sell. Can't get much simpler than my art anatomy with the stick figure, but. And the third thing over here is a tape recording magazine we're going to be putting up. And take a look at that there. We show it to everybody there.
You Corded remote.
A corded remote control back in the day. A little arrow pointing to it, and you can probably just see the cord going all the way to the TV, or I guess it's a sound system, whatever it is there. But yeah, that was what they were doing for remotes back in the day. So definitely be listing that. Somebody or other will get a kick out of that. So that'll be pretty neat. So we're going to talk today about banned bidders. Have you ever banned anyone?
Many, many times.
I've banned a few. And the reason why we brought this up is I had a sale and I sold 3 magazines to one gentleman. Sent them out, didn't make very much money on them, but got rid of them and I was happy with that. Woke up this morning to 3 returns. He claimed all 3 magazines were missing pages. Because I didn't pay a lot for them and because I didn't sell them for a lot, I just refunded them and put them on the banned bidders list. I know a lot of times people will ask for them to be sent back. The problem with that is I absolutely guarantee you when I get them sent back, they will be missing pages. So I just gave him his money back, apologized, said, gee, I'm really, really sorry about that, and put him on the banned bidder list because the odds are all 3 of them were not missing pages. Could have been, but I really, really doubt it. What are some reasons why you've banned people?
For me, usually it's people that I want to say they bug me. They're very fussy, and they don't want to pay a lot of money for their items. So if I'm asking 20 on a magazine, they're offering me 8. If I say yes, they're going to find a problem with it anyways. So and it's people that buy 3 or 4 or 5 items and they have problems with 2 or 3. Just like with the missing pages. We have 1 million magazines. We can't look through every page, and they don't realize that. And from time to time, you get guys that complain over and over and over again, and I just say enough is enough.
Now, have you ever reinstated anyone?
A couple times on a rare occasion. Generally, I like to tell them if they're going to buy, if they already have a list of what they want, say 5 or 10 items, and I know what they're going to buy ahead of time, and I put them back on, and they buy it, and they spend a good amount of money, then I'm fine. I keep them going, and day to day. If they, another sale, if they're fine, we'll keep them on. But if another problem again, then forget it.
I think one of the things that people need to realize is there are a lot of different ways to run a business, and you're going to get, and I mean no disrespect to you or to me out of this, but you're going to get different quality out of Family Dollar than you will out of Tiffany. And that's what it comes down to. If somebody's going through every single page and taking 48 pictures, I guess you can add extra pictures. There's a way to add extra pictures. So they've got 48 pictures up of the magazine, and they've gone through every single page, and they've used OCR to scan into table of contents so that they, that's all searchable and all that type thing, and they're asking $100, you would certainly have a right to be extremely upset with them if there were a major problem. If it's somebody or other that's selling the stuff out cheaper, there's less put into it. And again, you cannot check 1 million magazines. You're absolutely right on that. So if people have that understanding going in, we're more than willing to work with people. No problem at all with that. But if you're paying, $8 for it, it's going to be a little different than if you're paying $100 for it. It just is. I had one story, and I put the lady on the banned bidders list for this. It was a Esquire magazine, I believe it was, from the 1920s, maybe early 30s. I had F. Scott Fitzgerald, and it's a $100 magazine all day long. And it was in bad shape. It really was. I took pictures of it. I noted, the cover is nearly torn off. It's this, it's that. But it was, it did have the F. Scott Fitzgerald, and she also wanted an ad in it. And the ad was in nice shape, so I mentioned that to her as well. She asked about the ad. I said, yeah, it was in nice shape. She went and bought it. She paid $15 for it, and I had free shipping on it. So I made a couple of dollars on it when I shipped it out to her, and literally that's all that I made on it because she was somewhere on the West Coast. She gets it, and she complains to me that it's in bad shape. I gave her money back and put her on the banned bidders list because it's not worth arguing with her, although I did note to her that if it were in good shape, it was a $100 magazine all day long. So she paid $15 free shipping, so a couple of dollars she ended up paying for it. She wanted the ad in it. The ad was in good shape. Some people you just can't make happy. She was going to the Yugo dealership wanting to buy a Rolls Royce is what it came down to. Now, I know you did email me the other day, and you probably don't know who I'm talking about because I'm catching you off guard, which is always the fun of the show. It's fun for one of us.
Yeah.
Do you remember you did send me to put somebody else on a banned bidders list about the middle of last week? Do you remember why?
There's been a few, so I'm going to say no.
American Magazines.
That was the username?
No, American Magazines is what they were buying or making offers on.
Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, this gets under my skin.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, rule of thumb for me, I don't like to take less than half of what I'm asking on an offer, and it all depends. There's a lot of variables. But I'm saying a magazine that I'm asking 20, I may take $10 on it. Or if you're going to buy a bunch of them, 10, 20 magazines, there's more leeway. But for some guy to come in there and make 50 offers of $1, and I was asking $15 at least, right, on these things?
Yeah.
You know, and I sell them for 10, 12, 15, whatever. He's offering me $1, not on one or two, which would take me, 30 seconds to decline. 50 of them, and I just simply don't have time to go through each one. So I ignore anything that I feel is insulting to me. I just ignore the offer.
The funny thing is, you sent me the thing asking to put him on the banned bidders list or not, and he had actually made 2 offers to me of $1 a piece. Now, on American Magazines, and I think I was asking $18, something like that. Now I had a little more time on my hands, so I countered them at $17.99 each. Oddly, he did not take me up on that, but I wanted to show that I was willing to negotiate. I didn't need the 18. I would have taken probably $17.98 from him. But now I know in the past we've talked about this. What is your theory on why they do that?
For me, this happened years ago. I think they like to catch you off guard. On a couple, I think they could get away with that. Because, if I have 10, 20, 30 offers, back in the day, and I'm going through them, I may slip on one or get distracted. At one time, I sold an Emmitt Smith baseball, which was like, I think, $80, and I was going to take 50, and he offered me 25, and for some reason, maybe I thought he offered me 50, I don't know, and I accepted it. Ever since then, I double check all my offered amounts, because you never know. I have items that are thousands of dollars, and if someone's making a $100 offer on it, and I think I'm asking $1,000, I may think they're asking almost full price, and so you got to double check your numbers.
One thing that I know I've done in the past as well is I had a item, and I think I was asking $22 on it, something like that. And they offered $2 on it. So I countered them at 20 and said, you forgot to add the extra zero. Sorry about that. Here, you can still buy it. They didn't buy it. I guess they did want to offer me $2 on it. But, I'm not going to take that. I would lose money. A lot of times I'd lose money on their offers. So, and there are times where I will explain it to them if their offer is just ridiculous. They're offering $5 on something. And I'll, hey, something. And I've actually said this to people before. I've actually said, I'll just send you $1. I'm actually ahead of the game if I send you $1 because, and I run through the numbers and I say I lose $1.38 if I sell this to you.
Well, shipping's cheaper too because you put it in an envelope. It's only 50 cents too.
That's true. That's true. I hadn't thought I was going to PayPal them, so that works out well. One of the problems I know a lot of people complain about is you can only ban 300 people on eBay, which seems like a lot of people, but that hasn't changed. And we've been on since 2000 roughly, something like that. So from the year 2000 on, that's only 15 people a year. That's basically one person a month that you have a problem with, which I really don't ban people, but I will occasionally. I know you do it more often, but you're also a lot larger than I am, and you sell a lot more items than I do. One other quick story I'll tell you, and this guy got me, and he got me good. Won't happen again because he's banned. But he went and he bought 2 items from me. And I may have told this story before, but he bought a newspaper and he bought a magazine. And he emailed me that the newspaper was missing pages. And it was a 36-page newspaper. And I know that I checked it. And I know I double-checked it. But I just said, oh, okay, maybe it was. So I gave him his money back on it. About 3 days later, I get an email telling me that the magazine's missing pages. Now, things happen, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together until I went to refund him. And I saw it was the same guy. And I said, really? It took you 3 days to check the second item from it. He knew what he was doing the entire time. He got his money back. I lost the items on that sale. He is on the banned bidders list. Another thing also that sometimes will end up happening, I know this happens for you sometimes, is within categories where you have a lot of items listed. I know sometimes sellers will reach out to each other. Yep. And they'll give heads up to each other, and they'll say, hey, I don't know if you had a problem with ABC yet, but if you did, put them on the banned bidders list because I've had a problem, or I'm pursuing something with eBay and I want to show a pattern from them, that sort of thing. So unfortunately, there are some bad buyers out there. They will happen. As much as I hate to turn down a sale, it's not worth it in a lot of cases for the people because, they're in it to get something for free. They're in it to bust your chops. And, I'm too busy for that. You're too busy for that.
Exactly. It's the
If you
cost of
watch
doing
this-
business, really. It's no different than theft in a Family Dollar store. Same thing.
Speaking of which, I did have a situation too, and it's another gentleman that went on the bad bidders list. And again, I don't have very many of them, but I do remember he emailed me that he got the item and he got an empty envelope, and at the bottom of the envelope was open, and it was like the third time that this has happened to him. Well, I taped the bottom of the envelope.
Third time with your items or just with
In general.
In general, right.
I taped the bottom of my envelopes. I taped the top, I taped the bottom. It's not going to come open. Could it have been open when he got it? Maybe it did. If so, it would have been somebody having taken it along the way. So I suggested to him that, hey, I've never heard of that happening at all. He's had it happen 3 times in the last month, allegedly.
Exactly.
Talk to the post office, and the post office does do sting operations and things like that. So if somebody in the post office was stealing the stuff out of there, the post office will catch them.
Well, usually for me, when a buyer receives an envelope that's opened, if you can clearly see it's open and the post office is going to deliver it to them, they actually keep the item because it's empty. The post office, they'll put a note in there for me with a Ziploc and mail it back to me, so I at least know this is the item if I want to track, best I can who the person was.
Yep. So I guess sparingly use your band bidder, but do use it. There are times when it's the best thing to do because there are certain people out there you just do not want to do business with. So have a good day.
Take it easy. Thank you.